Okay, I've been challenged in dialogue with someone advocating communist and socialist philosophy and practices. First of all, the core of capitalism is there has to be regulation because capitalism is driven by greed, and greed is an incentive to do both good and bad things. So, we need legislation, we need enforcement against crime and fraud in order to allow capitalism to do what it can do. So that's the first point. So now we have a capitalist, someone who has obtained a large amount of wealth that isn't needed for daily life, and the capitalist wants to use that wealth to make more wealth. Two options really. One, lend out the money at interest, and when the money is paid back at interest, if it's paid back, they will have more money than they started with, or invest it through various methods in some enterprise that you believe the value is going to go up, and then over time you'll achieve greater value and you'd be able to sell your stock or sell the company for more than what you invested in it. So those are the two ways to turn money into more money. So if a greedy capitalist wants to do that, they're going to understand economics and they're going to look around. And they might say they see a product that's out there that is being sold for a price that allows a company to produce it at a very large profit margin. So the price people are willing to pay for whatever volume they're producing is much greater than the cost of producing it. So that company is making great profits. So this capitalist may say, well, that, based on the supply and demand curve, the fact that this price is so much higher than the cost is an indication that there isn't enough of the product in the market yet. So this person would say, well, I can do it for a similar cost, and therefore I can get into that market and I can undercut the price that the current producer is selling it for, and I will be able to sell more at the price that I can provide it for. So the investment goes into creating more of that product. So the capitalist did that purely selfishly. But what did that do for the consumer? The consumer, who found that in order to get that product, they had to pay a fairly high price, would now be able to buy it at a lower price. And other consumers who weren't willing to buy it at the higher price would be willing to buy it at the lower price. And that's the signal, that's the mechanism. So this greedy capitalist creates more of this product, and the price of the product starts to come down. But it's still far above the cost. And so if these two companies between them still can't drive the market with enough product to bring that price lower and lower and closer to the cost, then somebody else is still going to see an incentive to use their capital to try to compete there. They will reach an equilibrium price with the consumers. The consumers at that price will be willing to buy it to a certain number, and then it'll sustain a certain number of companies who are producing it at that cost. Again, they're all doing that for greedy reasons. And then on the other side, the consumers are benefiting because the supply of this product keeps increasing. The number of people who can and are willing to buy it keeps going up. So more and more people are getting the benefit of a product that was worth a very large amount to a small number of people and is worth a smaller amount to a much larger number of people, until we reach the point where we are still above the cost in terms of the price, and that's how many people are going to be able to gain the benefit of that. So that's the maximum available benefit, is the maximum amount of that product that then can be created and made available at a price that people are willing and able to pay. And finally, let's talk about the incentive of lowering the costs. So, when these companies are tightly competing with each other, the costs are the driver for profit. Once they've saturated that market, the only way to get more profitable in that market is to lower the cost. And let's be honest, one way of lowering costs is to increase worker productivity and therefore either increase the number of products that you can produce at the same cost, which again drives up your profits per unit that you sell, or you gain your productivity and then you reduce the number of people who are actually producing it. And both things can happen. And what might happen is that in one company, because they're able to increase the productivity of their workers, they're able to produce a higher number of products and lower the price of each of them somewhat. So they're going to sell more of the product than the other competitors are. And as the other competitors find that they can sell fewer products at a profit for themselves, they may take the approach of saying, well, we have to cut people because we can't sustain paying people to produce a smaller number of units that we can produce at a profit. And that's not a sustainable model for them either, but it may be what they do in the short run to deal with the revenue problem that they're going to have. So so greed causes capitalists to find better and more efficient ways of providing a greater abundance of the products that people want. Now, when any of these companies cuts its cost by cutting workers, that's bad for the workers. And we can't get around that. It is bad for the workers, at least in the short run. But it's good for consumers, because consumers gain the benefits of being able to buy those products at a lower price. And the change that makes in those consumers' lives is that then, since they're paying less for that product, they have more to spend on other products. And so there's a compensating effect, which is that then there's more money out there to be spent on other products, which gives those displaced workers an opportunity to be part of an enterprise that starts up or grows in order to gain the money that's being spent in some other product or service. And the most important thing, I think, to remember about that is this whole capitalist process that's driven by greed and increases the value of what people can get for their money is completely voluntary. No one is being forced to buy any of these products. No one is being forced to work for the corporation that's producing them. They're all making voluntary decisions that this job that I'm doing is worth the money I'm being paid, this product that I'm buying is worth to me the money that I'm paying for it, and so on and so forth. It's completely voluntary, completely free. Everybody has the freedom to do what they like within the law. So that's capitalism, and next I'm going to have to deal with the socialist and communist ideas. So hopefully soon I'll create a video explaining what the incentives are for the two main models of socialism, one of which is government bureaucrats being in control of at least some markets, some industries, or taking control of them. And the other model is of worker ownership, cooperatives where workers all get together and own the company. And what are their incentives, and how would they act in a competitive marketplace if one still existed. So look for that next time.